What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another video on the channel. Just got done filming probably the easiest and quickest crappie video I've done all year. The bite has been absolutely fire today. I will link that video down below if you guys have not seen that one yet. But I figured that while I was still out here, while I was still on massive schools of fish, that I would show you an updated version of my Garmin Livescope settings, because I know it's been a while since the last time I've done one. Some things have changed, some things have remained the same, but for you guys that are new to the channel, which seeing as how the Garmin Livescope title may have attracted you to this video, I wanted to do an updated video on the settings that I run on my LVS34 as well as my LVS32 on the back of the boat, and I hope this one helps you guys out. So I guess first and foremost, let's talk about what I'm actually running in my boat, because a lot of it is going to be maybe different than what you guys run, and seeing as how I'm a full-time fishing guide, I have a lot going on in the boat, and obviously there's a reason for that. But let's go over the units that I run, the Livescope pole and stuff that I run, and explain why. So at the console here, I have an EchoMap Ultra 126 SV as well as a 106 SV. I run the 106 on the left side just for mapping. I do a little bit of down imaging on that one, but primarily the right side of my graph setup here is just meant for graphing. So by that I mean, on this screen I run a lot of down imaging, especially this time of year, and then I also run primarily side imaging. We've got that 12-inch screen for all the screen real estate we could ask for. I love having my EchoMap Ultras here at the helm. So these EchoMap Ultras at the helm are also linked to my 106 Ultra in the front of the boat. This Ultra and the two back there talk to each other, so they share waypoints. We share the GT56 transducer in the back of the boat, and then in the front here we have a GPS map 1243 XSV. This is my dedicated Livescope unit, so this one does not talk to the EchoMaps, which I don't need it to. This one is primarily for just a really sexy screen, and I can also screen record from this unit to my phone for all my YouTube videos, and it makes it a lot easier. The GPS map series are obviously a lot more expensive, especially this one right here, but as far as Livescope goes, I run the LVS32 in the back of the boat here on my second Livescope pole. That provides an amazing picture as well, especially on the 126 right there, or the 106. You can do it on both, but don't feel like you have to run out and grab a GPS map unit, unless you have the money, obviously. But the EchoMap Ultra units are what I would recommend for starting out with Livescope. So as far as my transducer is concerned, I'm running the LVS34 here. I am partnered up with Sealight. These guys have been amazing here the last 2 years, but this is one of the best Livescope poles on the market. Obviously you can get different sizes, you can get different mounting options. I've got mine on the quick detach plate right here because I put my boat cover on when I travel, but obviously this, you can loosen up all the tension screws, bring that pole up or down. It's going to be a little tough because it is 26 degrees and everything is frozen, but that comes up and down. You can adjust this collar, bring that up or down as well. But for me, in my boat, in my Crestliner Deep V, I feel like this is just perfect for me here. And then I run the exact same setup here in the back of the boat, which I don't have down currently. I've got another Sealight pole, same length. I've got the extension on it because my boat drafts a lot more water, so I've got to get it down there. But I run the LVS32 on the back one right here, which is then linked to my 126, my 106, and also the 106 in the front. Obviously, if you guys are regulars to this channel, you'll see that I have videos from the past on how to make a DIY PVC pole for your Livescope. But if you're getting into Livescope, I really highly recommend getting a good sturdy transducer pole for your boat, because anytime you run the PVC DIY setup with the ram mount on it, if you want to troll, even going 1 or 2 miles an hour, that pole is going to bend all the way backward, and that's just not possible with the PVC setup. So that's why I highly recommend getting yourself into the Sealight pole. Sturdy, you can troll up to 4 or 5 miles an hour with it, and they are great guys to work with if you need anything. So please check out my discount code down in the description if you guys are looking for one of the best Livescope poles on the market. So that is kind of my graph and Livescope pole setup from front to back in my boat. Again, 2 live scopes can be kind of technology overload, but for somebody that fishes full-time as a full-time fishing guide, it is absolutely necessary, especially this time of year when I've got 3 or 4 clients in the boat. We get over these massive schools of crappies. We've got people in the front on Livescope and in the back on Livescope, all on fish. So it works great for me. So now that we have all of the graph and Livescope pole setup situations out of the way, let's talk about settings. It's really hard for me to just not pick up a fishing rod right now, which I may still do and drop down, but I want to go over all the settings that I use for the LVS34 on this graph here. So I know that I said that with the GPS map units, when you connect this graph to your active captain, you have the helm feature, and that allows you to screen record. But instead of trying to screen record for this video, I'm just going to go through all the menus manually here, recording from the screen. So this could not be a more perfectly laid out picture right now, because we were sitting in 22 foot of water, spot locked over a massive school of crappies that I just got done fishing here that are about 14 feet down. We're only looking 20 feet out forward. You guys can see that sea light pole is pointed in the front of the boat, and we just have a massive ton of crappies out in front of us. So let's go over the LVS34 settings that I use to get the picture that I do on this and all of the other active captain footage that you guys see in my videos. So let's just start out. We're going to hit the options button right here. It's going to bring up our screen on the right side here, the Livescope forward menu, so you guys can see that I run my gain right around 70%. I feel like for this water clarity that we're dealing with, I mean, I can look over the boat and I can see my transducer about 12 inches down. So it's Kansas clear. I wouldn't say it's clear at all, but it's Kansas clear. It's kind of stained, but I like keeping my gain right around 65 or 70%, just again, depending on the water clarity that you're dealing with. Muddy water, that may go up, that may go down. It may make things more busy, but that's kind of where I leave it. Depth range, I always manually set my depth range 5 feet deeper than the depth that I'm fishing. So mine is set to 25 right now. I'm sitting in 22.5, and we've still got bottom on the screen. Forward range is set at 20 feet. This time of year, it's either set at 15 or 20 feet because we are not casting to these fish. We are fishing them vertically right over the side of the boat. So to get the most accurate size gauge on your baits and on those fish, you're gonna get the best picture right around 20 feet. I do not use the down setting because if I switch this to down mode, my clients in the front of the boat would have to be fishing off the right side and the left side of the boat, and it just wouldn't work. Plus, I always want to see exactly where those fish are going, so it allows me to move the pole around and see in forward mode exactly which way those fish are going, which right now, thankfully, they are not moving whatsoever. So from there, let's go into the sonar setup menu. And again, just because I'm using a GPS map unit does not mean the menus are different. They're just laid out a little bit differently, but everything applies the same. So we'll start with appearance here. Color scheme on my 1243 here with the LVS34. I really like the moss color scheme. The moss color scheme gives you a really good kind of depth of field contrasted picture of those fish and structure around them. The moss color scheme kind of looks like the one that I run in the back of the boat or on this unit right here that's attached to the back, but it looks a lot like black emerald, but sometimes I feel like black emerald kind of blows the colors out and everything's a little bit too bright. So that's why I've really gravitated towards the moss color scheme. It looks really good. Color gain, this is a really big setting, especially for you guys that use really tiny crappie jigs. Color gain is something you're gonna wanna bump up. So right now mine is set at 87%. I usually keep mine in between 80 and 90% depending on the fish that I'm fishing for, the depth that I'm fishing for them in. If I was shallower, I might bring that color gain down a little bit so it doesn't blow those targets out. But color gain is just gonna allow you to really see those targets pop, especially your jigs as they're falling down, little tiny crappie jigs. So keep that between 80 and 90%. Color limit, this is one that I am kind of eating crow on from the update that came out almost around this time last year. I was really a fan of the color limit update when it first came out, but now as I've kind of gravitated towards getting more data and information back from the transducer, I've gravitated less and less towards the color limit update. So right now I keep my color limit at 0%, but what color limit does is allow you to crank your gain way up without having your screen blown out. So I'm just gonna change my general settings right now to show you exactly what color does. So I'm gonna go to my on-screen control at the bottom of the screen, which is gain. and I'm gonna bump it all the way up. And you guys see what that does to the screen. So my gain is at 90% right now. Obviously we can still see the fish, but we've got all this interference in the water column. So from there, go back to your options, sonar setup, and then go to your appearance and then color limit. So again, mine right now is at 0. Watch what that does as I crank the color limit up. That eliminates all that interference in the water column, but at that point you're losing information from the transducer. So I'm not gonna name any other name brands, just like I did in my video when this update first came out, but this looks a lot like one of Garmin Livescope's competitors' screens. It does clear everything up, but again, you're losing a ton of information. So that is a really good example of color limit and what it does. But after learning that update and what it does, I've just learned to keep that at 0 and then go back to my main screen and keep my gain all the way back down to around 70%. And that still gives me a really crispy picture. You're not losing any information from the transducer, and you've still got a really clean image there. All right, so from there, we've gone over color limit. Again, that is in your options, sonar setup menu under appearance. Cut trails I leave off. I do not want to see my trails of where the fish or the jigs are coming from. And then bottom fill I also leave off. So if we go back to the main menu here, we'll go from appearance to layout. So the grid overlay, that is something that a lot of crappie guys use, a lot of guys in the industry use just to get a good size gauge on fish. I find that those grid lines make the screen just a little bit busy, so I leave those off. Scroll history I also leave off. My on-screen controls are on, which are depth range, forward range, and your regular gain. Reverse range I leave on minimum. A lot of guys forget to change this setting, but if you switch that to default, you can see how that changes how much information is given back behind the transducer. Because I have 2 live scopes in the boat, one back there and one up here, I don't really care about what's going on, and I don't want to lose that screen real estate. So I leave that on minimum, and it gives you a little bit more as far as from 0, which is the transducer, all the way to the right of the screen, which is what is looking in front of the boat. Compress range I also leave off. We'll go back and we'll go back to our sonar setup, and we'll start from the beginning here. So noise reject I leave on medium or low right now. I don't really think it makes too much of a difference. Again, noise reject is just gonna clean up your screen a little bit more. I usually keep mine, again, on low or medium. Ghost reject right now, because I'm in deep water, I leave ghost reject off. And the reason that I leave it off is because in 21 feet of water on soft bottom, I don't really have to worry about that ghost tree issue and it creating issues on my screen. But if I was gonna move up shallower, say closer to the bank, I would probably switch that to auto or medium. And that is gonna prevent that ghost tree from showing up that everyone knows about, especially when you're on hard bottom. So, but when I'm in deep water, I can afford to leave that on low, or I can leave that on medium. And then from there, we get into TVG, time varying gain. Right now, again, the water's relatively clear. I'm in deep water. I can afford to have that off. But if I was in shallow water and it was dirty and I was getting a lot of interference, we could turn that on to low, medium, or high, but I would not recommend going over low or medium on that, because you're gonna take so much information away, especially from the upper part of your screen. Like when your jigs are falling down or when you're casting to fish out in front of you, you're gonna lose all that information at the top of the screen. So either leave that on off or low. My overlay data, I've got everything that I want up here. So we've just got water temp, voltage, and the time. I don't really need speed on there. I've got it on this one, so I don't need it on this one. And then as far as installation, there's only a couple things. Use AHRS, we want to leave that on because it's going to help you create more accurate waypoints on the fish that you're dropping, especially when you need to calibrate the transducer, especially if it's on your trolling motor. We leave that on. My orientation is set to forward because that's pretty much all I use. And then focus is set to auto fresh. So if you guys are in shallow water and you have an issue where you're getting stitches on the bottom from the transducer, you guys probably know all about the sonar beams and the stitching issues you have with it on the bottom or your image, you can always bump that up to right around like 145 to 150, and it's gonna change that so your stitching is a lot more even and your bottom is not angled up as much, because sometimes that does happen. But for me, I just leave it on auto fresh, and if I see issues with the stitching, I just will change it to that 145 or 150 range. But from there, that is pretty much it. There's really not too many other settings that I would recommend talking about. We can kind of see based on my sea light pull here that a lot of those fish that I'm looking at have shifted over to our right. So if you guys have a Terova in your spot lock, just hit your jog button over to the left, and it's gonna bring you right closer to those fish. Gosh, that looks good. It's hard to not be fishing right now, but I guess maybe I could. Maybe I can do this one-handed here if I just pop this guy off. If you guys have not seen my Livescope fishing videos before, please go check out the Garmin Livescope or crappie or walleye or wiper playlist. But without my screen recording, see how my settings now pick up my line, and they pick up both the jigs that I have on there. I've already got fish coming up to them. Should I just try and catch one? They were being a little fussy because I've been railing on them for the last video for however long, but the picture looks great. There's no latency, there's no lag in the picture, because the more you guys try and clean up your screen, the more you're gonna have latency on there. So that's why I've kind of gotten away from trying to have the cleanest picture possible and just get as much information from the transducer as possible. This guy's gonna hit that top one. Nope, he turned right off. But that's just a really good picture to show you guys, and I may insert a few clips from Active Captain from my last video to really show you how good that picture is. But this is just about as fun as it gets in the wintertime, live scoping big Kansas winter crappies. So try and get this guy. Oh, I got him. We got a fish on. There he is. I've got no hands to reel. Should we hand line him in? Is he gonna stay on? He is gonna stay on. Look at that. It doesn't get much better than that. All right, well, I hope you guys learned a thing or two from my quick LVS34 settings video. Again, a lot of my LVS34 settings apply to the 32, no matter if you're on a GPS map screen or an Echo Map screen, whether it's the 93 SV or one of the Ultra units, the 106 or the 126, but it's gonna produce the same results whether you're crappie fishing here in the Mid-South or if you're all-season crappie fisherman anywhere in the country. This is exactly what it's all about right here. So I'm gonna get this fish off, let him go, and get out of here. But thank you guys so much for sticking around for this video. If you guys want more information on everything that I run in my boat, from every single graph, live scope information, sea light pull, all the accessories that I run for the sea light pull, all the information is in the description below. If you have any questions, send me an email and I will do my best to get back with you. But I just wanted to get out today on this beautiful day before all the lakes freeze up, do an updated live scope settings information video for you guys, and maybe even catch a few fish. So we've got to get this 12.5, 13-inch crappie off, let him go, and get out of here. So thank you guys again for sticking around, and I will see you on the next one.